Okay, we are now joined by Caitlin Chukagian. Caitlin, thank you for the time.
Thank you.
We will take the first question from Jay Anderson with Cage Side Press. Jay, please go ahead.
Hey, thanks very much. And Caitlin, welcome back. First of all, obviously coming off the title fight, it didn't go the way you wanted, but was there anything that you could take away from the fight at Valentina that you can use, here, considering you're fighting her sister?
It was another fight camp. I train all the time, whether I'm in camp or not, but obviously when you're in camp, it's more specific and more skill, super nitpick skill development. So I feel like even my last two fights, I feel like I've gotten better and learned a lot of new things and kind of improved in areas that I needed to, in those last camps, and I didn't necessarily get to show it. So I'm still taking the things that I learned in those camps and taking it for this fight and my future fights. And for this fight specifically, it was kind of nice because, she's also a southpaw. So a lot of my sparring for my last fight was southpaw. So it was all right, well, a lot of this stuff we were kind of working on, basic stuff for that, I can apply in this fight as well.
And you're going from a title fight in a packed arena to one that's going to be essentially in an empty UFC Apex. Does that seem a little surreal how everything's changed so quickly?
Not so much. I think right now it's, everything's been changed so much in just our daily life. So, it just kind of the last 2-3 months, we're used to this now, just things being different. So, it doesn't seem different for me. I've even before the UFC, I fought in small crowds. I haven't fought in Ultimate Fighter, but I helped coach, so I've been in that environment. I fought in middle of Ohio in the middle of nowhere in a baseball field. So I'm kind of used to fighting in all different environments, and it was kind of nice because my two teammates, Sojara Eubanks and Claudia Gadea, they fought in Jacksonville last week. So them coming back and, coming back to the gym and training with me and stuff, I kind of got to hear their perspectives of it, and we train the same way and, have the same coaches. So they liked it, so I know that I'll benefit from this as well.
We've heard people say things like, hey, I heard DC's commentary and I actually took his advice. Do you expect that to come into play at all?
Yeah, I just hope, it's funny, one of my, couple fights ago, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, but I always hear kind of a commentary. I don't know if I'm not paying attention to the fight as much as I should, but I definitely always hear them. And I remember one time I had a fight and it was in the third round, and I was like, it's kind of close, but I think I'm winning. And I remember hearing DC being like, Caitlin's definitely starting to pick up the pace, and she's really putting on the pressure on her opponent. And I was kind of like, yeah, you're right. And it kind of motivated me. So it was funny because I've always thought that. I'm like, when DC commentates, I've heard him before and it's helped me. And that was in a normal arena. So then when people were talking about it, I'm like, man, I hope they're not ruining it. I hope he's not this time. I'm like, I hope he's not quiet. I want him to keep doing his normal thing.
All right, and last one for me. A win here is kind of interesting because you would have a win over the champ's sister. On the other hand, you've already fought her once, but do you think a big victory here can fast-track you back to a title shot?
I think her being her sister doesn't have any part in it, but, I think a win's a win, whether it was against her sister or anyone else in the division. I just think the only way you get back to the title shot is just, more wins in the division. So I think the sister part doesn't have a play in it, but just getting another win is obviously super important.
All right. Well, thanks very much, and best of luck this Saturday.
Thank you.
We'll take the next question from Jeff Wagenheim with ESPN. Jeff, let's go ahead.
Hey, Caitlin, I would like to ask a question also about the environment you'll be fighting in. I've already talked to a couple of the grapplers about competing in a smaller cage than what is typical for the UFC. But you as a striker, somebody who has really good footwork and moves around a lot, competing in a smaller cage, have you thought about that, and what do you see as particular challenges for you in this one?
I don't see it as any challenge for me. For my whole life I've trained boxing, and the cage that I've been training in is smaller, so I'm used to that. And when I box spar, I've competed in Golden Gloves and have a heavy boxing background, our rings are even way smaller than the cage, so especially in the gym they're small. I kind of like it. It kind of pushes the action more. I think the smaller cage is better for the fans because it just kind of pushes the action. And yeah, I can still, the cage is still big. I can still use my footwork and movement and everything just as well.
That's an interesting perspective. Of course, you're also competing against another person who has a striking background as well. It's not like you're you're dealing with somebody who's always trying to take you down. But does that also play into it? You look at it as this is essentially striker versus striker. I know you're both well rounded, but those are strengths for both of you. And your footwork in whether it's a big or small cage is the thing you think can make a difference.
Yeah, I think I'm just a better fighter. So whether we fight in a 30-foot octagon or like a 5-foot octagon, I think I'm going to win regardless.
5-foot octagon, man, that's a really small one.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, no problem.
And we will take the next question from Andre Kachuturian, sorry, with the New England Sports
Yeah.
Network.
Hey, yeah, Armenian. Hey, Keith, how are you? Just one question, couple questions. Previous times when you've lost your fights, you've bounced back with victories. Is there anything that happens to you mentally after a loss where you come out extra focused?
I think that I'm always, very focused, whether I'm training for a fight or not. I think when you come off of a loss, that feeling's definitely like fresh in your mind, and you're like, okay, this sucks. Like, I definitely don't want to feel that again. The best way to get over a loss is to get a win, and it feels really good. So I guess, having the loss fresh in your mind is a little bit extra motivating going in. But yeah, this is kind of nice because, this is my first fight in a while where I don't have the pressure of the title fight. So that hasn't happened in, last maybe year and a half, 2 years for me. So that's kind of refreshing now.
And we've seen all the support you've gotten on social media from the Armenian community. Have you made any connections with other Armenian fighters in the MMA world, like Edmund Shahbazian or any others?
Yeah, actually, I met Edmund in November. We were both on the MSG card, so it was kind of cool to meet him. Like, we kind of were social media friends through that and through the Armenian community and stuff. But it was kind of cool that we were both on the same card, and being such a big event, both of us at weigh-ins having the flag was pretty cool. But yeah, only thing is he's on West Coast, I'm on East Coast, so we're kind of far away. But yeah, if I was ever in California and stuff, I definitely try to link up with him to train.
Cool, thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
And we'll take the next question from Damon Martin. Damon, please go ahead.
Caitlin, obviously coming off the fight with Valentina, you're still the number 2 ranked fighter in the division. Were you surprised that Antonina was the fight offer, considering she's ranked a lot lower than you? I mean, it's an interesting story with her being Valentina's sister, but were you surprised that was the opponent you were offered?
Not really. I mean, she was supposed to fight Cynthia Calvillo, and I was a replacement. Originally it was supposed to be last minute when the fight was supposed to be, a couple weeks ago. So, I mean, I'd been asking for fights, so, I was just happy that I got the call. I mean, my title fight wasn't even 3 months ago, so I was just eager to get back in there, and I was just happy for the opportunity to get another opponent. I kind of feel like for the flyweight division, a lot of the fighters have already fought each other, so it's just kind of it's still a new division. It hasn't really been around that long, so until the rotation of fighters go in, I think it takes a couple years for the rankings to really make sense. So, just because she's ranked number 12 doesn't mean she's ranked number 12. She's kind of just new to the division, and she's working her way up. So I didn't really I didn't even know what she was ranked or anything. I was just excited for the opportunity to fight, especially with everything that's going on. So many people are out of work, and I'm like, damn, I'm able to work and get paid and do what I love. So I was just thankful for the opportunity.
We've seen a lot of fighters come off title fights, and some are more fired up and they come out and end up building a great winning streak. But we've also seen the other side where it's that letdown when you don't get the title, and they almost say fall apart, but they just don't quite see themselves for a couple fights after that. How important was it, coming out of that one to get right back in there and kind of regain that motivation, regain that momentum, going out of the title fight and then kind of restarting your climb back to the title?
I never really, even after the loss, I never lost motivation. I mean, if I felt I'm the type of person, I'm pretty good at reading how I feel and stuff, and if I sensed even just a little bit of lack of motivation, I would either not fight or, I would take time off until I rebuild that. I would never go into a fight unless I was like, 200% motivated and confident. So, that losing that wasn't really an issue for me. If, I'm pretty honest with myself, and if I felt any type of, negative energy or anything like that, and I definitely wouldn't have taken a fight.
You mentioned the flyweight division is still relatively new, but a big part of a new division is getting that exposure, getting that spotlight. When you had your 2 fights that earned you the title shot, you ended up being on the prelims, and I'm sure you saw they just recently announced, Jessica Eye and Cynthia Calvillo are going to headline a card on June 13th. And there's been a lot of blowback. A lot of people saying, "Oh, this is a terrible main event. This is a bad fight. Why are we seeing this the headliner?" What do you make of like the division, not getting that spotlight? Do you feel like it's good? Why are people having this blowback? Because obviously you and Valentina were a high-profile fight, and Valentina's title fights are going to be high-profile. But do you feel like it's going to take, high-profile fights like Jessica and Cynthia getting a main event to finally get more people behind this division?
Yeah, I mean, I think them, I don't know if other people aren't excited about that as a main event, but, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I hope it's a really good fight because that's really good for the division. I think if UFC promotes some of the other fights in the division besides just the title fight, I think it just helps build the division and builds interest in the other fighters besides Valentina. There's other divisions where there's kind of like these little super fights and fights that are like matchups that are really exciting to see, and it might be like a number 10 and a number 9 ranked person, but everyone's excited to see it, and it kind of builds it up, and that helps grow the division and stuff. So it's not, the division isn't just based off of the title fights. So, with that fight, I'm excited to see that fight. So, I'm probably biased because I'm in the division, but hopefully they put on a good performance and just bring more attention to the division, because there are a lot of good fighters and good matchups to be made in the division. It just kind of maybe needs more exposure.
And last question to that point, do you feel like it is just a timing thing? Because we saw it with the men's flyweight division for the longest time when Demetrius was on top. He was obviously great at what he did, but it seemed like the interest kind of waned outside of him because there just weren't as many high-profile fights. You feel like that's necessary? We need more high-profile fights. Like, there's a storyline with you and Valentina's sister. It's an interesting story. Obviously, Jessica and Cynthia headlining a card. Like, do you feel like we need more of that to bring the eyeballs to the women's flyweight division?
Yeah, and I think, through time, that'll develop. I mean, even like the women's strawweight division in the beginning when Johanna was just dominating everyone, it was almost the same as the flyweight division right now when that first started. And, look at it now. Like, there's so many good, feels like it's so deep, but all those girls that are in there now, maybe besides Weili, they've been in the division for a while. It's just, it needed time to develop and certain matchups to happen. And, when Ronda was at 135, I'm speaking for the women's divisions because that's kind of just what I follow more. But when Ronda was at 135, it was the same thing. And you didn't, Amanda Nunes was in the division when all that was going on. And only Ronda's fights got, attention, and now it's a little bit deeper. So I just think through time and, the flyweight division will be up to the same as those.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Yep.
And we will take our last set of questions from Augusto German-Niezge with Somos MMA. Augusto, please go ahead.
Hi, Caitlin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I want to know which aspects do you consider are going to be the key for winning, and what do you need to be careful of on Saturday?
I think the keys for me is to just, take a little bit of risk and not play it too safe, and just fight how I fight in sparring. If I fight how I fight, like I had my last sparring session Saturday, and I just felt like super on point, really, really good, really aggressive. And if I just fight the way I've been sparring the last couple weeks, then I'm definitely going to get the victory.
And how much did you have to change in your strategy for this fight? Do you think that you might be in a disadvantage, taking into account that you have already fought against Valentina and they train together?
No, I don't think I'm at a disadvantage. They're totally different fighters. I train with people that have fought Valentina. People in the MMA community, it's really small. You train with people that you fight, all different things. I don't think that matters. It doesn't, just because you train with someone doesn't mean you have the same, you magically get the same abilities that they have.
And the last one for me, how did you manage to prepare for a fight in the middle of the pandemic? How did that affect you?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I live in Long Island, New York, which is, hit pretty heavily with the pandemic. I mean, nothing looks like it's even being close to the talks of things opening isn't even really an option right now for us in New York. So yeah, it was kind of crazy when I originally took the fight. They're like, "Do you want to fight in like 17 days?" I'm like, "Okay, I haven't even really been out of my house, but I have a heavy bag. I have an Airdyne bike. Like, let's do this. I'm down. I'll figure it out." And luckily, the fight's getting pushed back kind of gave me a little bit more time. And it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've had a really good training camp for this. It's kind of nice because for me, I drive all over. I drive from Long Island to South Jersey to Manhattan for training, and the only positive about this is there's no traffic, so that was very nice. But yeah, I had really good training. Unfortunately, I can't even like really post pictures or not that that's important, but I can't talk about like where I train just because it's so strict in New York. We're pretty much I feel like I'm like a drug dealer trying to train for a fight. So but yeah, I got good training. That's all I could say.
Okay, thank you very much, Caitlin, and best of luck on Saturday.
Awesome, thank you.